Hello everybody, Max Monty 1516 here, back once again with a brand new layout video. I gotta say guys, I'm really excited to show you all this one. This is something that I've been looking forward to doing for months, and it's finally here. I finally got the time to do it, and yeah, I gotta say, I am just so proud of how this turned out right off the bat. So this is gonna be super unscripted, but I wanted to build a new layout. And here's a new layout. So the last time I built a wooden railway layout was almost 3 years ago now, in summer of 2022. And since then, I just haven't had room or space or time to do something like this. And since I took that layout up in early 2023, most of my stuff has been in storage until now. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started on this behemoth of a layout that is probably gonna take a long time to actually get through, but we're gonna do it anyway. So let's go ahead and start over at Tidmouth Sheds, which is actually empty because all the engines are on the layout. But here we have Harvey, who's just kind of chilling on the turntable, going to wherever he wants to go. And so I'm just gonna start on Harvey's line over here. So here is the water mill, that's the 2015 one. That's gonna go around the curve here to Muffle Mountain. And we got Lady, and she's pulling the Gold Dust car, both of which are new items, and Muffle Mountain's new as well. And that line is going to go straight down into here. This is L's Bridge. And another new piece, we have the pedestrian ridge with the family of 4 on it. Then we got Duck pulling Old Slow Coach. And then we have the signal gantry here. And that's going to go directly into the lumber mill. And then the lumber mill is there, and that's right next to the chocolate factory. And I have Philip pulling all the sweets cars there. And then eventually, that is going to move over. Sorry, I'm in a very tight space here right now. But that we're going to go into the 2014 windmill. And that's going to go over to Dennis, who's at the paint factory with the paint tankers. That's going to go under the sling bridge, over to this side of the rumbling bridge with the My Custom Diesel pulling the gold trucks. And they're at a siding with the water tower on it. So it's pretty anticlimactic to start on a siding like that, but just to get that out of the way. Anyway, here with Philip now, we're going to go on the curve line there, past Stepney real quick. And here's Daisy at the ice cream factory, and she is pulling 4 milk tankers, as well as the milk barrel car. And her train goes all the way back to the Sodor Dairy Barn, past Lorry 4 there. That's going to go under the bell tower, and then come around to the Sodor Dairy with the milk pump. And then we got Neville pulling a couple more dairy cars there. That's going to come out and around to the birthday tent. And then around this junction here to Stanley, and he's pulling the birthday cars at this bakery here with the one with the opening door. And it's Mr. Percival's birthday, so he's here as well with some present cargo. That is going to come around this curve here, where we have a little sign pointing to the birthday party. We got Emily with the flower cars at Marin Station, and we also have Kelly and Byron here. And that's going to come back around over the sling bridge, back over to where Daisy is, and then we're going to come over to Stepney. Now, this whole area was kind of added on last minute, which is why it all connects back into itself. But Stepney here has the museum cars. That's going to go under one side of the swinging bridge, around this curve, under the brick bridge, up the hill on top of the rumbling bridge. We have Frank pulling the dairy cars there, and then through the Man in the Hills tunnel, and that comes back over here to the birthday party. So now coming back over here to Tidmouth Sheds once again, I'm going to follow this line now. So we have Boko here at the power station pulling a coal car. That's going to go through one of the single stone tunnels there past the power crew, and then come into Napford Station, or at least the back side of it. So first off, there's Winston. We got Edward here pulling the old coaches. We have another bakery here because I thought it would fit. Then we have the Shining Time Station building. That's new as well. Right here up next to Muffle Mountain. We got all the Magic Railroad characters there as well. And we're going to follow on to Edward's line now. So he's on platform 1, as you can see. Going through that line now, we come past the ticket stand. That's going to go up onto Henry's tunnel over to Spencer. And Spencer's pulling a set of his coaches. And then that's going to go on and move over past the Volcano there to Scarloey. And that is the 2012 Scarloey, another new item. And he's pulling Ada, Jane, and Mabel on top of the Ulstead signal station. That is then going to continue up to Ulstead Castle, where we have Steven pulling in. And we're going to go down the drawbridge for now. We have the drawbridge there with the sliding hill. We'll go back to that track later. Then we have Millie, and she's at the crossing gate thing there, also past the signal box. She's going to come to a junction there, and we're going to go this way for now, past the fossil scanner. That's then going to go under the volcano there, and then also, again, right here at the T-switch, we have Connor, and he's back at the castle crane. Then we have Caitlin, and she's over here, and that's going to go over to the Crosby coal tunnel, and then over to the coal yard area, where we have Logan pushing Fred onto the tipper's loading ramp. And then that goes back over into the coal station, and then to Tidmouth Sheds again. So that's already 3 lines covered of this turntable. Anyway, back at the loading ramp again, we have Rosie, and instead of going straight on the Logan's line, we curve over. She's pulling several hoppers, including Hector. That's gonna go past the stop and go station, under the Ulfstead signal station, move over under the castle crane, and then to that line right there, which goes into the sliding hill area. Moving on, going on Harvey's line, moving forward there, we have the 2013 coal hopper, which curves over into Arthur, pulling the waterworks cars, past the windmill there, and at Tidmouth Halt Station. That's then gonna go up this hill to another new item, the Ulfstead mine, where you got a hand car in there, and that meets up back with Ulfstead signal station there at that junction. And now to finally finish off this little subsection, back to where Millie is. She goes past the treasure crane here, we go straight at the junction, through the airport tunnel. That's gonna go under this bridge here where Spencer is pulling his coaches. Then we come over to where Murdoch is, and he's got a very, very long train of boxcars. That's gonna come all the way over here under the crane of the coal station. And that leads into the 5th and final line of Tidmouth Sheds. And also here we go over the brown turntable. We got a ditch there, it just felt right to put there, to be honest. Past the crane from the slot and build set, which I found recently, so I have that. Then we also have Big City Engine here inside the useful engine shed. We also got the green coal hopper here, filling up 3 more coal hoppers. And then this triple switch here, where we got the jet engine, the booster car, and the Chinese dragon here sitting in the siding. Okay, so while we're here at the brown turntable there, we're gonna follow Murdoch's line now. So he's gonna go over this switch and inside one end of Henry's tunnel. Coming out the other end, we got Henry there next to one of the conductor's sheds. He's sitting by an elephant. And then we have a T-switch here. We're gonna follow that line in just a minute. But then coming down this way, we go past the cargo station where we have Lorry 1 sitting. We're gonna cover the road in a minute as well. That is then going to come around into the 4th platform of Napford, where we have Percy pulling 2 mail vans, and he's going next to the Napford Mail Depot, which I felt just worked here. I mean, you know, it's Napford. Then we're gonna come around this switch here. We got Oliver pulling Scruffy, as well as 3 more ballast cars here at Ellsbridge Station. This is gonna go over to where Toad is. And then we have another T-switch. This is gonna lead right into the sawmill and dumping depot, or at least the bottom line of it. And then we're gonna come around here to the switch where we have Sydney pulling the honey cars and the cranberry car. This is gonna go over to the swing bridge, which we'll cover in a little bit. But then moving on to the line that Sydney's actually going on, this goes under the bridge here to the grain and feed loader, which is another pretty new destination. Then we're gonna go over the level crossing there. We got Billy pulling 3 chicken cars. Then we're gonna go past the 2016 chicken coop, under the Napford covered bridge, over here to the mountain overpass, going under it once again, then over to Toby's windmill. On the other side now, we have Toby's windmill. There's a crossing here. We're gonna go through a single stone tunnel, past the yellow water tower, over another crossing, where we have Ivo Hugh. He's pulling the zoo cars. And then we're gonna come to this junction here and go over to where Nia is. She's got a long circus train there. And we're gonna cover this line going forward in a bit. But for now, we're at the Glennock Switch Tower, where Nia has her circus train. Back to another T-switch. Then we have D261 pulling 2 barrel cars past a barrel loader. And that leads in the other T-switch where Henry was. However, if we go forward on D261's line, or at least take the turn there, that's gonna go under the double-sided old iron bridge, and then come around here with this curve, meet up at the airport junction, and go back to where Murdoch is in the yard. So moving on from Ivo Hugh and Nia's spot, we're gonna go over this junction here past Jack and Alfie. That's then gonna go into the haunted mine tunnel. And if we take the switch there, that's then gonna lead into the Echo tunnel where Proteus is. Then we're gonna go around across several more switches and then back to Norman here on yet another T-switch, and we'll follow his line in just a moment. But first, going up the hill there, we have the toll booth bridge where Bolgi is currently sitting. Then we're gonna go over to the Sodor Bay Bridge, and then that is going to lead us directly over to the Hilltop Station with the road and rail tunnel where Thomas is next to Birdie. That then connects directly over into the clock tower and then over to the Napford covered bridge. Then that goes over to the top part of the sawmill and dumping depot where we have Wilbert pulling 3 log cars. He curves around over another bridge, and then that connects over to the Sudbury Swing Bridge, where we saw earlier. And then here we have Hank on the expansion bridge, and he's pulling a very long goods train. He's got 3 giggling troublesome trucks. He's got the pig car. He's got the apple orchard cars. He's got 2 furniture cars back there as well. And yeah, so that bridge connects all the way back around here, down this hill. And then this junction here that leads directly to that hill. Let me zoom out a little bit more. And this is going to go over this switch here to the direction switcher, which I just left in a siding to fill some space. And then that's going to lead up to this mountain here, which comes around to Sam's bell tower, and that finishes off this area. But then we're going to go back around here to the lighthouse bridge. Then we have the Sodor Weather Center, going back around to where Dustin is, pulling the weather tracker. And then we come into the bottom part of the search and rescue center. Since this side of the layout is nearly done, I'm going to start with the road section now, where we first have Lorry 2 sitting in the service station there. Then we have 2 little parking areas because I don't have the actual road section that goes there. So we just have the Crosby Station cargo truck and Caroline parked outside. That's going to go around the bend here to Elizabeth at the mail depot, then to Lorry 1 at the cargo transfer. Then we come up the hill there to George, who's just past the mountain overpass. Then we have this curve here, which goes over to Hilltop Station where Bertie is. That then goes down the hill, around the curve there to where Nelson is, and then at the crossing, coming around to Madge. Then we hit the Sodor scrapyard piece, and we have Max and Monty there going around the corner. Then there's another crossing, which leads to Sir Topham Hatt's car, which goes under the road and rail tunnel. That then goes to Lorry 3, who's sitting there outside the tunnel. Then we come over to the Scrub and Shine, where Elizabeth has just finished up. And then we have the Deluxe Fire Station, which is another new item. We got 3 fire trucks there. And then continuing over on this line, you come around a curve here to the bottom of the toll booth bridge where Bulgy is. Then we have the cement works where Patrick and the other cement lorry are. And then that eventually twists over to the hospital. The hospital's right here next to this T-switch where Norman is. And speaking of Norman, he's pulling 4 water tankers back to the search and rescue center. This line passes Captain's shed and connects back over to where Dustin is at the weather center. And then, if we go the other way, we're going to come around these junctions once again and come right back to the haunted mine tunnel. But this time, we're going to go straight. That goes through the bottom of the mountain tunnel, which comes out on the other side here, and then goes directly up Merrick's Hill, where we have Luke next to Merrick. That then goes through this little hill tunnel area through the clay pits, which comes around onto this curved viaduct area next to the castle, where we have Rheneas pulling the rock crusher cars. Then over to the top level of the stacking risers, we got Mighty Mac here on this little hump piece, which then directly goes down this spiral here. That is then going to pass the signal box and come to Donald, who is pulling a very, very expensive consist of 4 gray troublesome trucks, the white-faced troublesome truck, and the troublesome brake van. That then goes across here to Henry's tunnel again, and right down into Gordon's line, where he's at the signal house, and then that comes over to the 3rd platform of Napford Station. A lot of these lines are very back and forth, but now that that one is finished, we're going to come back over one final time to this little mining area here, and specifically this switch, and that's going to go directly under Morgan's Mines Bridge right there, over to Fergus pulling the power cars, and he is waiting for the transfer table. So the transfer table's line then continues on over to this switch where we have Hugo sitting at another barrel loader, and then that comes over to this 3-way switch where Frida is going directly into the back of Vickerstown Station. The line then continues around to 2 Ironworks buildings where we got Ari and Bert next to the rubbish crew there. Then they're going to come around this line over to Rebecca, and she is on top of the drawbridge. And then that comes over to the transfer table once again, crossing the other side this time. And then going past Fergus here, this line goes directly on top of the mountain tunnel where we have Flora. And then this line goes down over the trees of the tracks destination piece, and that comes over back to the switch tower. Back here at this 3-way switch coming from Vickerstown, we're going to pause on the middle line for right now. But Ashima's line right here, she's pulling the fireworks car. This is going to go right back to this switch where we have Gator. We'll follow his line in just a moment. But then this is going to go up through the finish line tunnel, back down the hill there, and to this switch where Norman's T-switch is over there. There's still a lot going on at this particular switch, so we're going to come back to Hugo now. And then this switch here that goes under the drawbridge, that is going to go past the Brenda Bay cargo loader, and in between here is Reg's scrapyard area. That's then right next to the airport. This is a very crowded area. That is going to go under the collapsing suspension bridge over to where Paxton is at the shark food delivery piece. Then he's pulling some trucks there next to Colin. We're going to talk about the docks here in just a moment. But then this line continues under the clay pits, crossing this crossing here that goes past the rock crusher, around that little turn area there, over to the Quarry mine tunnel. We have Sir Handel pulling a couple of coaches through these stacking risers. And then we have James pulling the Napford Express coach on that blue bridge. That's then going to go over the double wide old iron bridge once again, where we have the Sodor Railway Repair on the middle line of Henry's Tunnel, and that goes down into the second platform of Napford. And finally, back to this three-way switch one more time. We're going to go on the middle line now, over this level crossing to where Mavis is. She's at another stop and go station. She's pulling 3 ricketies and they're going over the bumpy track. This is then going to go over to Morgan's mine, where we come up the hill here to have Bertram. He's pulling 3 gold cars, which go into the middle of the mountain tunnel. This then comes around to where Peter Sam is, pulling some Blue Mountain Quarry trucks over a stacking riser. And then we're going to go down through the Dinosaur Fossil Quarry mine tunnel, over to the washdown, which is here because I didn't have room for it anywhere else, past this rocky mountain piece here. That's then going to go up the hill to the collapsing suspension bridge, where we have Hero, and he's pulling 5 aquarium cars through the top of the Brendam Bay shipping building. That's going to come around over to the dolphin exhibit and the rescue crane. And then that is going to go past the apple cider mill and then over to the winter fuel up, which is where Derek is pulling some tankers, and he's going to come over into the diesel works. So Derek's on a T-switch, and we're going to follow Den and Dart's line later. But first off, the actual diesel works itself, we're going to move over here to where Diesel is pulling a garbage car. He is underneath the cargo drop there. That's then going to go around to the Brendam Bay cargo loader, or at least the bottom part of this track here. That's going to go behind the airport and then over to the aquarium building, which comes around a curve here, over to this junction under the collapsing suspension bridge back to where Paxton is. And earlier I forgot to mention there's a switch here that goes to Little Boulder Hill there. And back over in this direction, we have this switch here, which is going to come around and hit the Christmas Crossings destination. Going forward, goes past another conductor shed, back over to the cider mill. And the other line here has Scruff, and he's pulling some garbage cars as well through Cidery Station, and that's going to bring us into Brendam Docks. So this line helps us enter the docks right here. We got Cranky there at the little port area. Here's Porter pulling the Crawling Critters cars, and his line is going to go directly into the work shed right there. Coming out this direction, we're going to curve around over this crossing once again to the Fossil Discovery, where Timothy is on the crossing there. And then this line switches back over onto the Washdown and Peter Sam's line. Now, if we go back over to the docks once again, this time we take this switch here, and we have Salty's line. He's pushing the yogurt cars going next to the fishing dock. We're going to come through this side of the work shed there. Then we're going to come to this V switch where we have the cargo crane. And this one line brings us over past this switch here to Stevens Shed and then onward to Ulfstead Castle. Back here at the cargo crane once again on the line closer to us, this line is going to curve inward down through this little tunnel area under the clay pits. It's going to come around the bend there to Duncan pulling the baggage cars under this viaduct piece here and back over to this Y switch. Now this line that goes under the stacking risers is going to go back to the Marin signal shed where Millie is at the castle. But if we keep continuing on this line, we have the museum stop and go piece right there with Samson pulling the dinosaur cars. Then this line passes over where Timothy is, up this hill here, and then up further to the clay pits. We got Bill, Ben, and Marion, and they're chilling up there. And while we are in this area, there's one final line I still need to cover, and that's this switch right here at the bottom of Merrick's Hill. This is where Rusty is at Boulder Mountain. He's pulling the construction cars. We got Thumper there, the collapsing hill. You know, you press the button, and then Boulder's gonna go all the way down there. Then we then go through another single stone tunnel, and then to the waterfall tunnel. This line curves around back to Regis Scrapyard and the Brendam Bay cargo loader. Now that this whole section is done, we're gonna come back around to the diesel works, where we have Dodge here on this line. We're gonna start there. So that's gonna exit the back of the diesel works and then come over to Gina on her line at Vickerstown Station. That's then gonna follow this curve here, where we go over to where Stafford is at the battery charging station. He's gonna then come over to this hazard track piece here, where the hand car is, and then on this siding, there's the Abner repair shop. This leads into the Sodor Steamworks, or at least the largest building of all of them. And then right here, we have Victor on this curved line right there. We're gonna follow his line, and this is one large loop. So there's a crossing there that goes through the Sodor engine wash, the smaller one. Then we have the 2014 Herald Telepad, which leads over into the 2010 Herald Telepad. where Bell is pulling Rocky. There's Butch there as well. Then we have the Sodor Search and Rescue Center building again. We're gonna come under this line this time, out to where the bubble loader is, and then we're gonna come back around under the curved viaduct there, which leads back over into Victor's line here at the Steamworks. But also, if we come back to the rescue center, there's one more switch down there, and this leads over to the searchlight, and then that comes right back over into the lift and repair where Smudger is. That's gonna go over this little crossing for Kevin, then back to this crossing where Gator is, and then back to this switch, and then back over to where Shima is at Vickerstown. I also decided I wanted a smaller shed here in the Steamworks as well. So the special engine shed is here. This line comes right out into Vickerstown and where Kenji is, and then Kenji's going to pass the dynamite stand, and then that goes right back over into the diesel works where Splatter is, next to the smelter's yard there. And yeah, once again, a line that ends, but I just thought that kind of worked space-wise, so there you have it. Back at the diesel works for a final time, we're going to continue once again on Derek's line because there's still a T-switch here. And Den and Dart are here with an oil tanker. First off, we're going to hit this switch, which goes through the snow tunnel over to where Mike and Bert are. They're just here because I didn't have anywhere else to put them. But these hills here are going to go up straight over to the Rumble and Race Mountain. We got Caldy up here as well. Obviously, you know, mountain engine, very fitting. But this is kind of like the corner piece. And yeah, there's a lot going on here. There's some more tracks we'll cover in just a little bit. But yeah, this line just goes straight up. It's gonna go around the mountain there and then come out on this side down to this little icicle area. And yeah, there's that little loop there. Anyway, back through the snow tunnel here once again, around this curve, through this snowy mountain as well. We got D199 down here with 3 fuel tankers, and he's at both oil derricks. And then we're gonna come over into like the little logging Misty Island area. So we have this little bridge here. We'll cover the top shortly. But Bash is down here, and he's at Old Wheezy. Then we're going to come under this little log tunnel area here. This switch, we're going to take the curve on for now, under the zipline bridge. We're going to take it straight on this switch right here, and then come over to Vickerstown Bridge, where we got Flying Scotsman waiting. And that is the last line of Vickerstown we needed to cover. Then this is going to come over here to a third barrel loader, then to the Steamworks where Duke is currently being repaired to signify the fact that I need a new Duke model. But then that's going to come right over here to this switch and back into the main Steamworks building. Nearly done now, but continuing on through this little log tunnel here back to this switch. We're going to go straight this time, and that leads us to the pirate ship tunnel here. The Admiral's got a good look at the layout right there. But then we're going to come up the hill this way. This is going to go over to Quarry. And on top of that is Ryan with a treasure car. And he's going on top of the Skull Mountain right there, around this crane here, down this side of the hill next to the Bluffs Cove Lighthouse. This is then going to go through the treasure map tunnel. If I can get the thing to work, there we go. And then we're going to come around this curve here, under the drawbridge, this curve here. We have the shipwreck tunnel there. And then that's going to come around this little curvy area to this junction where Hee Haw is. And then back over to this little stand here. And we will cover this line in just a moment. Continuing back from this switch, once again, we come under the zipline bridge. This time, we have this switch here. We're going to come this way over to Rolf's Castle. This is going to go around this curve here to the signal gantry and then to this switch. Now, this way takes us past the wood chipper and then back over into the Steamworks area. But if we keep going this way, we come under Quarry where we have Douglas pulling the fog cars. He's going underneath the Skull Mountain there, around this corner here, and then to the giant pirate ship mountain, down to like this little ocean splash area. And then that's gonna come up here to the Sodor Museum drawbridge where Skiff is, down past the overturned boat. And we have Molly with the ice delivery cars, just to fill space, I guess. And finally, we come back to this little area here. The 2 stretches that hit this switch here are the last 2 we need to cover, and they're pretty long. So first off, we're coming up this giant hill here to where Dash is on top of the lumberyard waterfall piece. This line is then going to continue over to where Whiff is, pulling 2 sets of recycling cars on top of that snowy mountain. We're going to come down the avalanche mountain here to another Y switch. Now, this first area is going to go through the holiday tunnel, and then on the other side is Dustin's shed. These are just here to kind of fill space and add some more visual interest, I guess. But then we have Vinny here next to the cargo drop. He's then going straight over with the barrel cars backwards into the storage case right there. And on the other side is the Brendam Bay view right there. So that's that line completed. And now, if we just take this little switch right here over to the Brenda Barrel Company, then we have the Celebration ship. This line is going to come all the way around back here under the Rumble and Race Mountain to this switch, which leads us all the way back over here and back to this switch where we just started. Now, this final one line is the last thing we need to cover, and it miraculously takes up the entire length of the layout. So starting up at this hill right here, we're coming to the zipline bridge where Ferdinand is. That's going to go around this little area here, and then we have the classic suspension bridge. Then we go over to the curved viaduct where I have Charlie pulling the bubblesome trucks, fittingly next to the bubble loader. Then we come over to the top of the Search and Rescue Center building where Flynn is about to go down the hill there. This comes through the rail part of the deluxe fire station. We have the fire train there. And then we have the not deluxe fire station. Once again, the rail part is connected, going all the way through back to the duck pond crossing where I have Freddy because, you know, didn't have anywhere else to put Freddy. Then we have the grain loader here. This is then going to go past this smaller chicken coop, then over to the collapsing McCall's Farm building. Then we have Toby and Henrietta down here at the Suttery Swinging Bridge, which comes right around back to where Sydney is at this switch, which we covered like 20 minutes ago. So guys, that is the entire layout. And if I sound tired, it's because I am. Because, you know, this was not easy to step around and constantly film for nearly half an hour. And if you're still watching this, I'm very impressed. But also, thank you very much for checking out the whole thing. If you liked this, hopefully you'll like my next video, which is going to be a destination collection video. And I filmed that right before building this, with this whole area like wiped empty. And then all my destinations lined up. You guys are going to see that pretty soon, hopefully. That was already filmed, like I said. But you'll see that uploaded pretty soon. I wanted to upload this one first. But yeah, once again, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you like the layout, because I know I do. This was insanely hard to build. Like I said, I had days of back pain from this. But regardless, I'm really, really happy with the end result. I think it's pretty safe to say this is my best layout. This is definitely my biggest layout, which is what the title's going to be. But yeah, once again, that's pretty much all I had to say. So thank you all so much for checking this out. Yep, have a great day. Max Monty 1516, signing out.